Hello, and thanks for joining us for the Pharmacy Cannabis Lecture Series. Each session is designed to deliver a small and in-depth dose of cannabis education. We have over 30 webinars on various cannabis topics, so please be sure to subscribe and follow us on YouTube for future episodes. My name is Kandice Hawes, and I want to thank all of our viewers and customers from the Pottery, from the Farmacy Santa Ana, Santa Barbara, and Berkeley for joining us today. Today, we're going to have a very different presentation than usual. I'm going to be having our guest speaker, Andrew Evans, who works with me in Santa Ana, answer some of your guys' questions. Andrew Evans is the operations manager at Farmacy Santa Ana. He joined the team 3 years ago and has helped us with our transition from Bud and Bloom to the pharmacy. Andrew manages the day-to-day business of the dispensary, schedules employees, conducts interviews, onboards new employees, and oversees in-store demos and bud tender training. Previous to cannabis, Andrew worked in e-commerce and retail management at companies like American Apparel, Starbucks, and Obey Clothing. We have excellent questions submitted, so I know that you guys will learn something new from us today. Andrew, thank you so much for being with me.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is really fun. I always hear you doing these in your office, and now I get to be here too.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that you'll have some really good questions, good answers to the questions that we have today. So I'm really glad that you were able to join me today. So let's go ahead and jump in because we have over a dozen and I'd love to get this information out to people.
Sounds
so what is one thing that you wish people knew before shopping at a dispensary?
That is a very good question. These are actually pretty good questions too, by the way. I would say just don't be discouraged. It's really overwhelming for a lot of people to come in here. We have something for everybody for the most part, whether it has just CBD with no THC at all or something in high THC, pain management, help with sleep, just elevating the mood and overall well-being. But there's a lot of stigma still with this industry that, you know, someone maybe a little bit older or maybe just a little bit fresher that never used cannabis or has anybody they know that use it, they need some help in a department. We'd be able to, you know, issue that help or give that product, but they're just kind of scared. It's just a lot to walk into. They think it's some sort of scary drugstore, and we're your neighborhood pot shop. We're super friendly. We're here to help. We thrive on helping our customers and those first-time customers. We have a lot of first-time users, a lot of elderly. Thanks to you, Kandice, we have a good partnership. So we work hand in hand with a lot of seniors, some senior facilities. So just don't be shy coming into a dispensary.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I also kind of wish that before coming into a dispensary that our customers, new customers, did a little bit of research on their own.
For sure.
I find that there's a lot of people that come to us, so they've made that decision to actually commit and come into a dispensary, but they still don't really even know the difference between the two basic cannabinoids like THC and CBD. So I would say, you know, if you're thinking about using cannabis, just do some basic education. There's a lot of stuff available online. There's sites like Leafly that make it really easy to understand and to digest. So we don't mind going through all that stuff with people and explaining, you know, the CBD and how that's different from THC. But if people can do a little bit of research ahead of time, they can kind of prepare themselves and be able to help us also narrow down what would be the best thing for them.
Definitely. We do get a lot of open-ended questions from customers. Like, I heard you guys help with sleep. Okay. You know, what would you like? Have you ever gotten high before? Are you okay with a small dose of cannabis, THC, or you think CBD is going to put you to sleep after taking one gummy? Spoiler alert, it's probably not going to, but it will over time help you get to sleep, more efficient sleep. But yeah, there's a lot of things. There's actually Leafly's really great. Before I worked here, I remember going on YouTube and there's a Leafly, I think it was like Bud Tender or Cannabis 101 series, and they went through each topic. I wish more brands or, you know, places had those kind of resources. But yeah, just go online, Google, YouTube, any sort of social media. There's cannabis information to be found.
Yeah. Also, I would say maybe talk to your friends. If you have a friend that has been using something for sleep and it's worked really well for them, although it's not guaranteed that everything is going to work the same for everybody, that can kind of help narrow down all the many products that they have within that category. Is something that someone has a good experience with. So that's
definitely one of our main recommendations is my neighbor, my friends, you know, they swear by this product. Where is it? Can I try it? So that's always a good word of mouth, the way to go.
Yeah, I think that's about 25% of people probably come in with that. A recommendation from somebody. So in most cases, do you think that people come into a dispensary and they already know what they want? Or do you guys have to really help guide them and find a product that suits their needs? And I know that we may be different because we're more medical based than a recreational dispensary, but what do you find?
We definitely do have a lot of those daily users that are just picking up that same thing every day, or maybe once a week they're coming and stocking up on the same items. But we get dozens of first timers every day. So primarily I would say people know what they want, but I mean, maybe 1 out of 3 customers doesn't know what they want, I would say.
Yeah. And would you say, how often do people come in for something specific and then they like see something new or something like a new product that a line came out with that they like, that how often do they add something new, do you think?
Oh, all the time, which is one of the reasons we kind of constantly moving around things, which is definitely kind of one of the later questions. Something that people complain about is that we move things around too often. But a lot of times we do that so that you'll see that item that's always been in the corner. Well, now it's next to the topicals. You never seen it before, the fancy packaging, or something maybe it's vegan or it's solventless, infused. Something will catch their eye. So yeah, definitely a lot of times we got those add-ons for sure. Packaging is great. I always think the Wild gummies kind of stand out with their little dome packaging. Or Camino and the Kiva brands do really good with their packaging. But yeah, it's the first thing that customers see. So it definitely stands out.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. A lot of people buy with the eyes, you know,
Yes.
So especially if they're comparing 2 products that are similar dosages, similar prices, they're like, which one like appeals to me visually? So that definitely plays into that as well. We have a really good question. I think that's a good idea to answer this now in the very beginning of the presentation, but someone just asked, what is the difference between a medical dispensary and a regular dispensary? So do you want to answer that and maybe I can add on to it?
Yeah, I'll do what I can. I'm sure you can add a lot because you're got a long history in the medical industry. I'm mostly retail, but basically most dispensaries in California now are, I guess, a regular dispensary, are retail. The medical dispensaries still operate in some cities. Unfortunately, a lot of them are on the gray market. They're not entirely legal. But the difference is the license, the propositions that passed, I believe it was 96 that passed the Prop 215, and that was the medical dispensary. And then the Prop 64 in 2016, seems like forever ago, but just 5 years ago. That was where it's just retail. So the limits are different on how much you can purchase. The age too, I believe it's still 18 and up for medical and it's 21 and up for retail. The amounts, you can get an ounce, but if you're medical, you can get 8 ounces, which is a lot, which I did have a customer buy that much today. So I guess half that much today, but it happens. But yeah, you probably have something to add to that one.
Yeah, no, that was really great. You know, in the beginning, a lot of cities only allowed for medical. Some cities even came on board with regulations before Prop 64 passed. So that's why they first started as medical. Like the first 20 in Santa Ana, they're all medical and recreational. The city allowed them to have like a dual license. And then when the city of Santa Ana just recently added 10 more, they only gave those last 10 a recreational cannabis license. So like, just like you said, the difference is that they can only serve recreational clients. You know, that means everybody has to be over 21. It means that they can only sell people up to an ounce or 8 grams of concentrates. Where if somebody has a medical license, they can take in medical patients, you know, that can be over 18. It means that they can sell more than an ounce to people. And that they can also participate in SB34 programs, which are compassionate donation programs. So medical licenses can participate in that. But still, recreational customers can come to medical dispensaries. It's just pretty much like licensing and kind of deals with like the customers and how much we can serve. But that's a really good question. Yep. And then also like the difference I'd like to point out for possession. If you're just a regular adult over 21, you can have 1 ounce of cannabis on you outside your house. Per house, you can have 6 plants per house. Now, if you went and got a recommendation, and nowadays they've made it really easy, you can get them online for like $39 and have a telephone appointment with the doctor. Once you have a medical recommendation, you can have 8 ounces on you outside the house. You can buy 8 ounces at a dispensary, and you can have more than 8 grams of concentrates. And then if you wanted to grow and you have multiple patients in the house, you can have 6 plants per patient. So that's pretty much the difference there. And then some of the dispensaries will also give a discount. So at Farmacy Santa Ana, we give a discount for medical patients, right?
Yep. Yeah, we give 10% off for all medical patients.
Yeah.
We also offer a senior discount too. Just if we're on the topic of discounts, we do 20% off for anyone over 55 on every visit. We also offer veterans, disabled, and student discounts at 10% as well.
Yeah, that's great. Just trying to make it more affordable for people.
Yeah.
Because I know that's something that plagues a lot of customers is, they just can't afford the medicine that they need. And a lot of times it's because of, the taxes and the high costs. So this is just one thing that we can do to kind of help those populations that need to be able to afford their cannabis.
Especially those medicinal patients. When you're using this as medicine, it's just a lot different when it comes to your finances. It's something that you need and not that you want. And it's expensive product a lot of time, especially, if we're talking about end of life care or, if someone's battling cancer, they need something that's a higher dose, that's highly concentrated, that's more expensive. So it'd be great one day that the insurance companies can help subsidize some of the costs for the patients. But now we just try and, offer the discounts that we can.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people deal with. And I'm glad that we do offer those discounts for people.
We also work with people. I think that any good dispensary should do this. We have a couple customers that have gone through chemo or, other sorts of care like that, where we've worked hand in hand with companies to offer buy one, get one deals, to where the company will provide one of the units. We get one of the units so they can get twice as much for their money. It's very helpful.
Yeah, we're really good too. If we have people that we know are regulars, if we have like a promotion coming up, we'll be like, hey, just so you know, this product that you really love is going to be on sale later on, or, we have a BOGO and it's going to make your money go twice as far. Something I'm working on now too at Farmacy and will be available eventually across all of our locations is an SB34 program. Oh, nice. So for those of you who are not listening, SB34 is the Brownie, Mary, and Dennis Perrone Medical Cannabis Donation Act. So what it does is it allows medical dispensaries, to give away free $0 free medical cannabis to qualified patients. So you have to have a recommendation to those that need it. So we're going to be putting together a small program, rolling that out, trying to match with, like you said, some people facing end of life care, serious medical need. But we're really excited to be able to offer that to people.
Yeah, super fulfilling. I mean, it's very unfortunate, but to be able to help those people out, they walk out happier than when they walked in.
Yeah, giving them hope, and some peace and happiness. This is a really good question that we got. So what legal liability do bud tenders have when they recommend products to a patient? And I know that we actually have one of my friends on, Dr. Kenton Crowley, who's a pharmacologist. And he always talks about this as well. When people come into a dispensary and they talk to a bud tender, we're a counselor, we're a pharmacologist, we're all of the above. So what do we try to do to limit that liability?
Just got to basically be really cautious with each customer. We do provide services very similar to all of those things, but none of us are really licensed, just being straightforward. We're not licensed to give medical advice. It's mostly, we do get a lot of training from the companies, and they have medical experts that are providing those studies. So the information we get from them we'll take seriously. But we haven't, I don't have a degree in this, unfortunately. I know they offer them now, but they didn't before. But basically, we just try to be extra careful. What kind of allergies do you have? Are you vegan? We got a lot of vegan products. Also, if you're taking CBD, if you're able to take any THC at all, because a lot of products that say they're CBD heavy, say they're 20 to 1, 30 to 1, or even they just say CBD only on the label, they're going to have a trace amount of THC. Some people are very sensitive to that and can't have any in their system at all. Some people also get tested still. Drug tested for work or for different reasons, and we want them to fail that test because of us. So just really asking questions. I've had a couple instances in my past where a customer was very sure of the product that they had wanted. They pointed it out specifically, they took it, and then they called back the next day and they didn't realize they're going to get high from that product. And they kind of laughed it off. It was kind of a fun event for them in the end. But it definitely was scary to hear that it could have gone the other way, where the person had a bad experience or something bad could have happened. Because, they specifically said their friend had this one product, but they didn't know there was THC in it, and they asked for it. So, that was early on when I worked here. So ever since then, every single time, I'm always making sure if they get a CBD product, I'm making sure if they're getting a THC product, I'm making sure that's what they want. People want things. You just got to make sure that you're asking the questions and not just trying to get them out the door with the product, because that's where you're going to get into trouble. I saw something online about, bud tenders offering like assistance or saying certain things during whether it's a pregnancy or some sort of treatment, anything like that, definitely ask your doctor. When you're in some sort of medical condition, if you're taking medicine on the daily or weekly or at all, ask your medical physician. Most of them are open now. I have customers every day that'll say my doctor recommended coming and get something for sleep, for pain, for well-being, for stress, anxiety. Just ask them. Most of them are open. If they're not, maybe looking at getting another doctor or taking their advice seriously and not using cannabis if that's the situation. But yeah, you got to be careful though, because people do think that they're going to come in here. We're going to be like some sort of shaman sometimes. We're going to give them something that's just going to turn everything around. And we do have some things that can help turn things around, but everybody's different. I have family that can't have THC, just they're too sensitive to it. And I myself like high levels of THC. Everybody's different.
Yeah. And sometimes as high THC users, we forget like how much a little bit of THC can affect people. So we have to be really careful when making recommendations. And I completely agree with you. If anybody is taking any kind of medications, it's always wise to advise their doctor or talk to a doctor that works in the cannabis space. My friend, Dr. Kenton Crowley, was saying he likes to call it practicing medicine without a license, because people will come in and they'll be like, oh, you have this or that. You need to take this or that, So we have to just really be really careful about, actually like recommending a product and kind of just like leading people to a product and letting them make their decision. Ultimately, they have to be the one that makes the decision. And like you said, you really have to listen to people. If they deliver a lot of information, you have to be able to take that, analyze, and like make the best recommendations, but then again, kind of let them make that ultimate decision. And a lot of times I find people want CBD products because they're told, all these wonderful things about CBD, but then they're trying to use it for things like sleep. While CBD may help like reduce anxiety and help balance your endocannabinoid system and put you in a healthier place to get good sleep, it doesn't really help like sedate you like THC does, so they may not know enough about the two cannabinoids to know the difference. And sometimes people will take a CBD product and they think that they're going to get a benefit right away, so you really have to tell them, like with CBD, it's something that you have to take for longer periods of time to be able to get the benefit that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's a bell I'm always ringing. CBD is great. I don't mean to discourage it at all. It's something that's fantastic that we have to utilize now, but you have to think of it more as like a multivitamin rather than an aspirin. Some people might feel it that day, you have like their CBD drinks, gummies, but it's really something that should be taken every day, if not twice a day, in small doses, even so your endocannabinoid system kind of gets used to it and is able to receive it properly. The sleep thing, people, I can't sleep. Let me get this CBD. Yeah, it's probably not going to help you as much as this other thing. They get it, and then they're complaining because, yes, it doesn't sedate you at all. It tastes really good, but it's not going to really sedate you at all. But I think there was a question actually about a CBN in the Q&A about since we're talking about sleep. I'm not as well versed with this. I have heard some conflicting things about CBN. I was told that CBN helps your REM cycle. I've been told since that might not be the case. But essentially, CBN is just aged THC on the cannabis plant. If you don't harvest your plant early enough when it's actually fresh and you let it keep going, I've done this myself, and then you harvest it, you'll find when you smoke that or ingest it, you're gonna get a lot sleepier a lot quicker. So it's kind of a little bit of like bro science a little bit, but it does you do feel a little bit more sedated, and especially with THC. When you have the THC with the CBN, it seems much more effective than there are some products with CBN and CBD. Again, it just doesn't seem to be as effective, maybe over time, but not in the moment, not that night.
Yeah, completely agree. All the things that you heard are the same things I've been thinking and I've been hearing around as well. So, just like with a lot of the other cannabinoids, research is still out and pending, but like anecdotally, we're hearing that some people get some relief from CBN. So it's just one of those new things that's out there, more abundant on the market, which is nice. So you can definitely find more information about CBN and about all the things that we're talking about at Leafly. That's a really good website. So it's leafly.com, and also Project CBD is a good reference for people as well to find more information. So with senior shoppers, do you give them guidelines of what to take, how much to take, how often to take it?
Yeah, I mean, again, with the caution from some of the previous questions, most serving sizes will say 5 to 10 milligrams, depending on the product. I always say start with 5, especially if you're a first-time user. I would actually suggest maybe taking 2.5.
Yeah.
Usually ripping your gummy or your chocolate in half, just for that first time. The most common thing that we can all laugh off eventually is, I don't feel the edible. I only ate half. Let me take the other half. And then all of a sudden you feel it all at once. So, if you're ever trying to try out for the first time, eat your half, wait a full 2 hours, set an alarm. Everybody has an alarm on their phone. Set an alarm on your phone for about 2 hours, then take more if you don't feel it. But it takes some time to digest. It's just like any other food. If you ate your gummy or your chocolate after dinner, it's going to take some more time to digest after that. So you don't want to overdo it, inadvertently. You want to save those gummies for when you really need them. I suggest too, if you're taking it, more medicinally, I would say, if it was an edible, maybe every 6 to 8 hours, you could do another dose. But I would recommend maybe even like more 8 to 10, just depending. That's why, overnight, if you take your gummy before sleep, you shouldn't feel the remnants when you wake up, as long as you time that out right. And when it comes to, smoking or vaping, that's usually you're going to feel those effects for like 2 to 6 hours, depending on the person and the amount. And sometimes they'll say 8 hours in your system, which can be true, at least when the law is dealing with it. But yeah, I would say if you're going to do your dosing, if you're really trying to time it out, wait a couple of hours. If you're smoking for the first time, take a hit or two, make another, again, pull out your phone, put a little timer, wait about 20 minutes, 30 minutes before you take another hit. I know, everything is high THC now. Everything is smoke this whole joint, smoke this huge blunt, whatever, that's super fun. But at the same time, it's not for everybody. Some people just need to take 1 or 2 hits. Some people need a 15% THC product. So again, just asking the questions, just easing them in, low and slow. Take half the gummy, wait, take 1 or 2 puffs off the vape. That for seniors, I'd say it's more vape than smoking, but still take 1 or 2 puffs, wait a little while, and just kind of relax. Yeah, you can always take more, but you can't take less once you take it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Also for seniors, we always suggest to keep a patient log. So to write down, how you're feeling that day, what you took, how much you took, how long it lasted. And then also when you're a new user, to try to maybe get like the sample sizes and try a couple different delivery methods, even though your friend really likes the beverages and the edibles, after you've tried a tincture, you might fall in love with the tincture and the benefit that has. So definitely be open to different delivery methods. There's so many different ways to use cannabis nowadays. And I always love to tell seniors, because a lot of times they still only think it's smoking. That's the only thing that they ever were exposed to. So when you tell them, we have topicals, we have bath bombs, we have like every sort of edible you want. We have
tea, we have mints.
Beverages. Yeah. Like Turkish delights, everything.
Oh, yeah, those are good.
Repositories.
Yeah, we do have those too.
You got a hole, we've got a way to get it in there,
There we go. We can get you high.
Yes, we can get you higher, we can get you well, So yeah, we definitely spend a lot of time coaching our seniors, giving them all the information that they need to feel comfortable, finding, what they feel comfortable with, and kind of giving them the roadmap for success. So people can either come inside any of our dispensaries, we can always match you up with somebody that's on staff that's available for you. And then I know that at the Santa Ana location anyways, I'm also available virtually to set appointments for people and to help kind of explain the cannabinoids, endocannabinoid system, so you're prepared once you do go inside a dispensary. All right. So next question. What is the number one complaint you hear from customers?
I would say, well, other than the moving things around, which was kind of more of a fun one, I mean, with something we're going to do, the product around the store, is that we don't have a specific product, usually a strain. A lot of people have been smoking a lot longer than I've been alive, and they grew up smoking these awesome strains that I've heard about, Acapulco Golds, oh my God, I can't even think, the Thai sticks, anything of the kind of the old school, the stoners from the 70s and 80s, those strains just aren't around anymore. Or even if it's a new strain like a Sour Diesel or a Blue Dream, I haven't seen Blue Dream in a jar, an actual flower, in at least 6 months. I love that strain, but I haven't seen it. I don't know. People aren't growing it. I don't know if there's not demands. It might be that Sometimes people they just want it for vape. I see a lot of those legacy kind of strains in vape cartridges, but not in the actual flower. So that's a lot of the time. I mean, there's sometimes we run into logistical issues where we're out of a gummy. You know, the fruit gummies are one of the most popular products we have. They're the most affordable edible and pre-roll, infused pre-roll that we have, and we can't keep them on the shelves. We have orders in automatically, and we always exceed what we had planned on selling. So we're still always out for a couple of days out of the week or maybe the month. We're a little light. Like right now, we don't have them, but they're coming in this week. We just are waiting for them. You know, they're just so popular. But yeah, the strain thing, and I feel that because Blue Dream, I love that. You just don't see certain strains anymore. Yeah, that'd be pretty much that. I mean, people still complain about THC not being high enough. I think it's pretty high. I think it's fine. But people want to keep going higher.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The law regulates that the edibles can only be 100 milligrams. The only other way is to become a sublingual product. And so there have been some edibles that have been able to go to the bureau and say, really, we're not meant to be ingested. We're meant to be sucked on. So we're technically a tincture. So can we have higher than 100 milligrams? So sometimes you'll find edibles that fall into that category that can be used sublingually and ingested. And so they will be a higher THC level. But you're right. Compared to like the old days and like before regulations, we used to have edibles that were like 1,000 milligrams. Yeah. When I tell people that, they're like, what? And that was normal. And people loved those.
I do have to say that also led to, I still have customers to this day that are scared of edibles because of their experience getting something that is one Rice Krispie treat that's 1,000 milligrams and they're supposed to eat a corner or whatever they say. And then all of a sudden it's too much. Like there's a reason there's 5 milligram doses because people want that, but people do want 1,000 as well. And I think, I'm trying to think now, the only way you can get 1,000 is through, I think, capsules. We have a couple tinctures. We have the Space Gem syrup is 600 milligrams. That kind of not technically an edible, so it gets around that. But yeah, that dosing, those 1,000 milligram pieces that used to scare me off. I didn't want anything like that,
Yeah. Even when I get an edible that's 50 milligrams, I'm like, that's make sure I keep that separate. And I know that that's not just a 5-10 milligram, Yeah. I would say the complaint I hear a lot too is taxes. And actually at our dispensary, we roll in all the taxes. So people don't really realize it. But I would say a majority of the dispensaries, what you see like on the website or when you go buy the product at the store is not including taxes. And so although they may seem cheaper at the end of the day after everything is added in, it's actually not usually cheaper. But in those types of dispensaries that don't roll it in, people see it a lot more often, so they might make $100 purchase and they're paying 30 something dollars in taxes. So that's the complaint I hear the most is about the taxes. There's a 15% excise tax that the state takes right away. So the minute that gets delivered to us, we pay that excise tax. And then there's in some cities, a local cannabis tax on purchases. So in Santa Ana, it's 6% for medical and 8% for recreational. And then on top of that, there's regular sales tax. So all rolled together, that can be close to 30%. So that's what I hear a lot from like Normal and from like other people that work into dispensaries where the taxes aren't like rolled in. And so I always just tell people, this is now your time to advocate to the state and let them know that you can't afford the medicine you need because the taxes are too high. That's definitely something that's like ongoing in the industry, trying to lower those taxes. But if you feel strongly about it, then, we need your voice as well.
Yeah. And if you are tired of driving really far to a dispensary, I highly recommend you come here. We're a destination spot. But if you want a dispensary in your town, the only way you can do that is to advocate for it, is to vote in city councilmen and women that'll vote for that. When they passed Prop 64, they left it up to each city to approve dispensaries. That's why Santa Ana is still to this day the only city in all of Orange County with a dispensary that is actually operationally functional. Costa Mesa is going to have one pretty soon, which I'm excited about. It's pretty close by. But, it's been 4 years, one city in the whole county. Just think about how big Orange County is. We deliver, but we only deliver within a 15-mile radius. That's still pretty generous just because we need to cover all that land where people can't get deliveries. But, people up in Corona, just over, the 91, like they have nowhere to go. They have to drive all the way here. South County, even like the kind of Stanton kind of areas that's in between kind of Long Beach, LA and us, so if you want more dispensaries and if you want prices to go down, you need to advocate for more stores. That's the only way it's going to happen.
Yep. Great point. And one of the most important things I like to communicate to you, to people, we can only do so much. We need everybody's help. That was great.
There's only one Kandice, you guys. She's at the city council meetings fighting to get lower taxes. And on top of everything else that she does, if everybody could pitch in and do that, I think we'd be in a better spot overall.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So if you could change one thing about pharmacy, what would it be? That was one of our viewer questions.
Ooh, that's a good one. I feel like that's a question that could get me into some trouble. That is a really good question. A lot of things we can't do just because of the legality of it. I would absolutely love to have a consumption lounge.
That was my same point.
Yeah, we have an event space. Although as the operations manager, I do think about what that would cost the staff and actually have that functioning. But to have that for the community would be so great. There's so many people. I mean, you should not be smoking in your car. That's very easy these days to get a DUI. Even if you're not smoking in the moment, if your car smells of cannabis and you have the product, if you don't, handle yourself properly, you could end up in trouble. A lot of places you can't smoke at home. Most renter and lease agreements discourage or say no smoking on the premises, not even outside. Technically, you can't smoke weed on the streets in California still. It's still like basically like a consumption ticket, like drinking, a beer in public. So if we could have a consumption lounge just for those people, that could come here and just relax after work or get away from their house. You have kids at home, you can't smoke either, even if you own, so just being able to provide that for the community would be really great. Other than that, I don't know.
Yeah, if we have an idea, we pretty much get to implementing it. We're always trying to find ways that we can be better and serve our customers in a more efficient, education, informative way. But yeah, we love to hear your guys' ideas too. Anything that we can do to make it better. But I agree with you. I would love to have a consumption lounge, an area in the back where when we bring the senior shuttles here, we can let them actually try like what a vape is. A lot of them don't even know like how to use a vape or anything. So that could be really helpful. So good answer. Next question. What do you think is most important for newcomers to know before they start a medical cannabis regimen?
Again, kind of earlier, if you have any pre-existing conditions or taking any medication, just please ask your medical professional beforehand whether or not they suggest or discourage. Other than that, I ask a lot of questions, get to know the customer. What is the effect you're looking for? What is the benefit? What is your issue? What have you tried and what haven't you tried? Kind of go through all those steps and then see whether or not, they want to, vape, they want to smoke, they want to have an edible, if a tincture is going to be it, capsule form, any of those types of things. Other than that, I mean, you need to have your, just kind of have your ID. You got to have a valid ID to come in and you have to be over 21. So those are a couple things. Fortunately that we get some people with, that come in that are 18 and I'd love to serve them, but it's still going to be a little while. But yeah, just kind of ask yourself honest questions of what you're looking to get out of cannabis, and then we'll be able to help you. I love hearing people ask like, oh, I just want something that makes me happy. Just like brightens my day after work. It's like, cool, I can definitely help with that. But if you're coming in and you're slowly, I can see your mood is not improving. What are you actually looking for? What do you really need? Just be honest with yourself. What do you want with cannabis? Kind of with anything, with any sort of self-help or wellness thing. What are you looking to get out of it? So we can help you. We're here to help you. We're here to answer all those questions.
Yeah. I would also add to that, which is a really good answer, that if you are a newcomer and if you want to be able to spend time with staff and not have a lot of people in the store, a good time to always come is like outside of like lunchtime, not around like after work time. During the weekday, during like those kind of spots in between breaks is when you'll have like the full attention of the staff so you can really get all your questions answered. Also, most dispensaries don't take credit card. Some will take debit and some do have ATM, but it's always a good idea to come with cash, just so that you don't have to pay any additional fees.
Yep. Cash is king. Most definitely. Lunch times are some of the busiest times, 11 to 1 o'clock. Everybody, I feel bad for them sometimes. They think they come to get their weed on their lunch, and then they end up not being able to have a lunch because that's what everyone else is doing, especially Fridays. So if you come with the questions, weekends are also good. All of our staff on the weekends are also super knowledgeable. That's more time. We can spend a little bit more time with you. We seem to get a lot of those customers to kind of have almost like a couple's day. They'll go out, get lunch, and come to the dispensary and try and find what they're looking for. Early mornings are usually a little bit quieter too, so we can take a little more time with you. But yeah, avoid lunch or after work most of the busiest times.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Now we have a whole bunch of questions that were submitted to us about actually getting a job at a dispensary. So let me refer here to one of the questions that actually came in, and I have a couple other questions. So what type of person makes a good bud tender? What types of personality or like other professional skills do you think relate well to cannabis retail?
Really good question. I would say just outgoing personality, because you're going to have to talk to a lot of different types of people. Again, like all we've been talking about before, is you're going over things with people. You just kind of got to be open and outgoing. Also organized. There's a lot of things that you don't think of kind of as your average stoner, of the inventory and, with the restrictions on what we can and can't move around, lost units, things like that. So our inventory really has to be on point. We don't really have a lot of wiggle room with that like a normal retailer. So just being organized, being able to handle cash, multitasking. So just, organized, outgoing is the two main things. Just a good personality. We got all different types of personalities. No one type of person works here. I think we're, we're pretty diverse in our group here. There's a little bit of everything, every type of personality. People like all different types of products. So just be open. Openness is the main thing. You don't have to have any cannabis knowledge necessarily or experience to work here. But if you didn't have cannabis knowledge, it would be helpful if you had customer service or retail. So I didn't have any cannabis experience other than use before I started working here. I just couldn't get myself into the industry beforehand. But I had a lot of retail experience, a lot of retail management, a lot of logistical experience. So I was able to do the back of house and any of the sort of other operations. And then the cannabis knowledge, the things that I wasn't already aware of, I was able to be trained on the spot. So we do offer pretty good training, and most dispensaries, I would imagine, often really good training from what I've heard. We have brand ambassadors from each brand that come out to one-on-one train. And when they do in-store demos, they're always letting the staff know. There's a lot of online assets that are provided to us too. So yeah, just open and outgoing, good personality, some customer service experience. That's the main thing. We are known for our customer service. And I would like every dispensary to be known for their customer service, because that's what it's all about, is about helping people, making them happier.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes you stand out from everybody else. Because really, all dispensaries have pretty much the same products. It's really the staff and the service and the customer service that sets everybody apart. And I wanted to add to that, there's a lot of different positions available at a dispensary. Most people do start at bud tender. So don't be, ashamed to take like something that you might be overqualified for and work your way up. Cannabis retail has a lot of promotions and people move around a lot. And so, if you stick it out for 6 months to a year, I've seen most people move up the ranks and stuff. So, you can work front of the house as like a bud tender. You could work in reception. And there's also back of the house jobs like in inventory and compliance and management and all sorts of different jobs. So accounting, I've seen people come from all sorts of industries and be able to transition into cannabis, because we really do touch every part of regular business. So
it's fun because it's all kind of like in other industries, you almost felt like an outcast trying to keep something secret, that, you used cannabis and it was something you couldn't talk about in the workplace. And then now we're all people that got to finally join teams that we all have at least that one common interest. And, coming from other workplaces, it's really helpful to have a common interest between all of your coworkers. Whether or not they use, everybody's interested and we always have something to talk about. So yeah, that was great. I mean, yeah, inventory, receiving, reception, like, if you just want to get your foot in the door, take a receptionist job. Who knows? I started as a part-time bud tender, just an extra job just to get my foot in the door. And I'm operations manager 3 years later.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It just, as long as it just takes like, the work and the good attitude, you could definitely find yourself moving up. This industry is 5 years old in the state. Yeah. Think about that. Every other retail industry is hundreds of years, over 100 years, most like legacy retail, all those big box stores that are closing down. We're a baby. There's lots of growth. There's brands that are here that won't be here, and there's brands that haven't even started yet that are going to take over. So just something to keep in mind. Don't be discouraged if you haven't gotten into it yet.
Yeah. And it really is. There's a lot of people that are interested. When we put out a call for job applicants, I saw you recently, you had like 80 resumes. And
yeah, it was a lot. It was hard to go through all of them too. And actually I saw that one of the questions was about resumes and applying to dispensary. A lot of the things are on Indeed now, and like 420 jobs and stuff like that. They have you submit their resume that you kind of click and add all of your things to. It just becomes really cookie cutter, and you can't really tell anybody difference. You can't tell the personality. I'm not old, but I'm old enough to know when it was important to make your own resume, to spend time on it, to design it yourself, to kind of show this a little bit of your own personality or style, or just to stand out in some way. When I get a resume that's not the typical Indeed resume, it's just kind of standing out to me, and I'm going to take a second look at it. Just a little hint. Applying for any job, honestly, because after working here and seeing all those, it's like, man, I can't tell these apart. It's all kind of the same. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. And when applying to, bring it in person, ask for a manager. Don't be scared. Sometimes we're busy. Sometimes we won't give you all that much time. And sometimes we'll do an interview on the spot. It's all going to be different at every dispensary. So, I mean, I like that kind of go-getter attitude too, So if you're going to apply online, come in person too. Make sure I know your name, so that when we look through our stacks, that it'll stand out,
Yeah. So like maybe if they see it on Indeed, like they can post it there. But like if you really are interested, why don't you actually bring your resume to the dispensary, let them know how interested you are. I remember in the old day, they used to tell people to actually follow up after they send a resume. Is that something that you guys, that helps at all? Or is that something kind of like an old school job?
It's a little old school. It's like hard because like it's kind of the bridge to like how things are now and how I feel like they used to be. It's nice maybe to call like once to check on it, to make sure we got your resume, especially if you had brought it in person. I would say check. If you're applying online, I would just say that you should, most likely a lot of people are applying online and there's a lot of resumes. So if you're doing that kind of faceless, like just doing it through the website, just if we're going to call you, we'll call you. But if you're going to do it in person, you already showed your face. I would say call in. Hey, this is Samantha. I dropped by my resume on Monday. I just want to check in to make sure that one of you got it. Oh yeah, we got it. Thank you very much. Say, hey, I just submitted my resume on Indeed. I actually don't see those right away. There's a department that our HR department will go through those and send those to us. So I may not even know that you had sent it in, so it might not work. So it's good to cover all fronts. But yeah, the calling, you don't necessarily need to do it. And I would say call once or twice. But if you are, there's something about being like overly persistent. Yeah. And kind of leaving like a bad taste in someone's mouth too. Like it's always really nice to show up after an interview too. But if you're kind of coming in once a week to check on how things went, it's one of those things too. It's like, if we were to get this employee, is it possible that, if something doesn't, if they might have a couple more questions, they may not like the way things are, it just seems like it might not be as good of a fit when something like that happens. It's just it's hard to tell. Everyone's different too. If someone shows up, sometimes I'll see someone like, man, that person really wants it. Like, let's just give it to them, it's just really hard. Hiring's hard. Especially for cannabis. I want to hire everybody. I just want to let everybody know that I wish I could hire everybody.
I know, huh? I know that when we were looking through the resumes, and I was just like there for a couple of minutes, and it's like, wow, all these people have such amazing backgrounds, but like, why do they want to be in cannabis? So like, would you say like a little bit of like a personal statement in the beginning of a resume, like 100%. Like why you want to transition to this?
Yeah, that's one of the old school things is like, again, make your own resume so you can have your own forward. What is your job goal? What do you want? If I've seen a lot of people that are way overqualified to work in this retail space, and without knowing why they're applying for this, you don't know. If someone's been in like the medical sales field for years, making six figures, and all of a sudden they're transferring to this, do they really want to? Is this something they're passionate about? And they're just kind of going to be here to be in the industry? Are they looking to do the same thing in this industry? I mean, I have so many odd like things that people are transitioning. A lot of it is medical. A lot of like nurses and stuff like that will apply. And, you know, you see, I think they have a good job. It looks like they would have a good job and they want to transfer this. And this is a good job too. But it's just, okay, you've been there for 10, 20 years and now you want to get out. Or with COVID, actually there's a lot of people from Disneyland applying, which I mean, we bring happiness to the world too. So I totally can get that. We may or may not have some Disney people that come in and shop here too, which is really cool. I mean, we're the closest to Anaheim. But yeah, it's just weird. It's hard to know why they're getting into cannabis. There's still people that just, you know, want to get into the industry to get high at the job, which, spoiler alert, that's not going to happen. Get as high as you want when you get home. We do get samples and we do get employee discounts, but we're not all smoking weed in the back of the office. I know. Yeah. It's just not the case. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but it still is a workplace. So, I mean, it's just, you never know what someone is transitioning. It's so strange. Just that forward, just a little quick paragraph of just what you're interested in. I'm a personality person too. So put something about yourself too, you know, it just, just stand out in some way, any way that you think you can stand out.
That's awesome. And that'll be really helpful because I know that we have a lot of people that are always trying to find jobs in the industry. So I think that guidance will definitely help some people get successful positions, because this really is a great place to work. I mean, you got to be with wonderful people and help people, and you know, it's just like win-win. I'm
pretty sure there's a couple like community colleges that are offering like cannabis retail like courses too now. I've had some people that have came in for interviews that have talked about that. So I'm not sure exactly where, but that's something to be looking into. We're a normal industry now, so you're going to find that community colleges. You want to go into horticulture and learn how to grow. Most people going into horticulture now, it's for cannabis. So
yeah, totally. I was going to add on to that, but I forgot. So, so let's pivot away from getting hired, and we have just 3 last questions. This is one we get asked a lot. How does a brand get brought in? There's so many brands out there nowadays. Everybody wants to drop off samples and get on the shelves. It's hard in established stores like us. We've been open for 5 years. So pretty much to bring something on, we have to remove somebody. But what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's going to be good for the new stores opening up. But for our stores, you know, we're already running off of, you know, reports and what is selling and what isn't selling, and bringing it in by that way, because it's the most efficient way to do it. Relationships in the old school sense, relationships are still the best way. If you happen to know the buyers, or if you happen to know the owners, or manager, if you have your foot in the door, that's always nice. A lot of brands, their sales reps will jump from brand to brand, so they have those already existing relationships with the buyers. But as for the first time, coming by the shop's always good. But legally, we're unable to take any samples, unfortunately. And most dispensaries, I would imagine, and ourselves especially, we have a specific timeline for all of our deliveries because our receiving department is very busy and they have a lot of things to worry about. So when it comes to samples, you actually have to get those through Metric, which is basically an inventory accountability system that the state uses to make sure that every plant from seed to sale is accounted for, whether it's an edible, flower, or a vape, or tincture. Anything has to be accounted for. Each specific thing that's tested has its own batch and its own SKU. So if you're going to bring in any sort of samples, we can still accommodate that. We can get you scheduled to bring those in, and we do try out those products, and then we do give feedback to our buyer. But there's just a lot of stuff to try out, honestly, and there's not a lot of time. So we do our best. It's always good to come in the shop and have a presence. Again, you can come in too much. I just have to say that, being honest. Once a week's cool, but we're all busy and we all got to try and figure it out, and we're all trying to juggle multiple plates. Our buyers are all very busy. You got to think, your one brands, even our edible buyer, they've got, 24 brands or something like it's
not more than that.
There's so many coming at them. So it's hard. But don't let that discourage you. If you think you have the best product, come around, try it out, get it into one shop. It could end up being in multiple shops. Online presence is a big thing too. Obviously influencers and all that. I think more locally too. If you're a new brand, I would suggest, if you do get into a store, work with whether it's their ops manager or their event planner, have an in-store presence at least once a week, if not once a month, of like a demo where you can do a buy one, get one deal, some sort of discount, but just be present. We've had so many brands to where it felt like they essentially, before COVID, we had a handful of people that they were my coworkers. I saw them every week for 2 to 3 hours, at least once. They were always here. It was the same type of thing when you see your coworker, hey, how's it going? There's small talk and catching up on each other's life. And then, the pandemic hit, and then I wasn't seeing these people anymore. And it's unfortunate. I was texting them during the shutdown, just like a brand ambassador from, Kiva, just like, hey man, I've been thinking about you, miss you. How's it going? So just, have a presence, be there, be present for them. It really helps. A lot of established brands don't show that kind of eagerness to have someone in store or have a brand ambassador because, bottom line, they know they're going to sell.
Yeah.
If you're new brands, you really need to get your name out there.
Yeah. And you need to go out into the cannabis community and get active too. There's lots of ways that you can get recognized, and you need to do all of them.
Yep. Do all of them.
That's great. All right. So what are some pro tips that you have? I know I'll start with one. I feel like a lot of people are not holding their sublingual properly under their tongue for a long enough period of time. I think that people sometimes squirt a little bit too much liquid in their mouth, and that sometimes you need to, if you're taking a whole dropper as a serving size, you might need to break that up in like 2 or even 3 times. And to make sure that you're really, first swallow your spit so you have less, liquid in your mouth, and you apply that under your tongue. And even if it's a lot of liquid, I heard you can even do like in the front of your teeth, like in your gum. And like you want to tilt your head back and you want to let it sit there as long as possible. Dr. Crowley, who had to sign off just a couple minutes ago, he recommends 5 minutes. That seems like it's not even possible to do, but you definitely want to let it sit there at least a minute to let it all properly absorb into your mucosal membrane. Otherwise, you're just swallowing it and it's becoming edible, which is completely fine, but you're going to have a different onset and duration time.
Totally. I mean, good point. At 5 minutes, that is a long time.
Yeah, doesn't it seem like it might be a long time?
But I get it. It's probably the best for absorption. Yeah,
I think he said 3 to 5 minutes is what scientific literature on sublingual absorption, which is a delivery method that a lot of medical products use, not just cannabis, but to properly let it absorb. You need to give it as much time as it needs and to break it up. Is there anything that you can kind of think of, like pro tips?
Well, kind of on, if you ever get a patch, one of the patches from us, it's kind of like a transdermal, or like it basically is supposed to be a time release of, THC, CBD, whatever compound it is. But that is not to be put on the area in which you have the pain. It's meant to be put on an area where you like the most venous, where you have the most veins. So it gets into your whole bloodstream. So usually that's the top of the foot, which is my personal recommendation, because then you can put on your sock and it stays there all day long, or you put on your shoes, it's there all day long. Inside of the wrist too, that's kind of hard. If you use your hands, it's just going to come off. I believe the back of the knee too. Yeah. But you want to make sure you're putting that. It's not just if your shoulder hurts, don't put it on your shoulder. Put it on the back of your knee. It's going to get to your shoulder.
Yeah.
That's one for kind of on the topic of those sort of wellness things. The vape, don't keep your vape sideways. Just don't lay it down. It's fine every once in a while. I do it, I'm not like that hardcore about it, but if you're going to store your vape overnight, have it sitting straight up. It maybe sounds a little bit nerdy, but I got a toothbrush holder and that's where I put my vape in, and it's always sitting up straight. It doesn't leak as much as it used to. And if I know I'm not going to use it, like I have customers that maybe vape once a week, every couple of weeks for sleep, buy smaller amounts. Don't get a gram, get a half gram. If you're not using it often, get a half gram. It's not going to leak or clog or taste as bad as often. You have to think that whole container is being, the whole thing's getting heated up every time you hit it. That full gram, once you get halfway down, it's not going to be as great. It's going to oxidize. You'll notice that it's going to discolor, and you're going to get more leakage over time. So if you're not using your vape often, just get a half gram. If you are using it often, store it up with just up and down. Don't put it horizontally. And then also, if you're not using it often, actually unscrew it. Don't keep it together, because if a little bit of oil leaks, you're not going to notice. Once you try to take it off, it's going to turn into a glue essentially. And then you find it very often. If you ever pull your cartridge off your battery and there's like a little metal piece sticking out, that basically the oil turned into a glue and it ripped off a very vital part of your cartridge. And now both your battery and your cartridge are ruined. So just kind of
Also, very important, don't leave your vape in your car. If you leave
Yes.
it like sitting like in your cup holder all day and it's getting
Mhm.
hot, you're heating up the liquid inside of it and also the metal. And I've had scientists say that the metal can actually leach out into the oil. And then also, like we talked about CBN earlier, and that CBN is degraded THC. So if you're leaving your THC vape out there in the heat, it could be converting it to CBN. And the same thing is with flour. If I travel with flour, whenever I go inside a building, I'll bring my flour with me. I don't leave it out in the hot car because, again, same reason. That THC can get heated up, turned to CBN, and it just becomes more sedate, which some people actually like. And I've like known old school smokers who actually prefer like older, like they like the aged cannabis.
Yeah.
They like that some of the THC has turned to CBN. So tons of pro tips. We could have had like a webinar just on pro tips.
Yeah, don't leave anything in your car for cannabis. Don't leave concentrates for dabs in your car. Those should be kept in a fridge or a freezer, depending on the consistency. And don't keep edibles in your car. We're in California.
Oh, yeah.
Gummies melt. They turn into this kind of like amorphous blob in the container, and you have to try and peel them or cut them. Chocolate obviously is going to melt. Just take stuff inside with you. It's not going to smell. Most of the packaging is all sealed. And for the most part, in most places, you're legally allowed to have it on you as long as it's sealed. Now, there's a seal on everything. Once you open that jar or open that vape, it's technically open and it's an open container. But if you have it sealed, it's fine, you know? So in most places, not every place, don't take it into a courthouse, please. But, you know, if you're going to shop at the mall and you have a sealed bag of edibles in your bag, that's going to be better than keeping in your car and ruining it. We could have done pro tips like the whole hour. I appreciate
there's so many neat things that we hear about, you know, that we would just wish that we could inform all of our customers about. Like another one that I really love is beverages. Like beverages are an edible that kick in faster, don't last as long, and they're a really great alternative for you know, recreating and even using it medically.
They're more affordable too. I think is Habit. I think it's under $20. It's 100 milligrams. It's the drink. You're gonna absorb more of the THC a lot quicker. But again, it will go away quicker. But that's the whole thing too. Absorption. You're not absorbing all 10 milligrams of that 10 milligram edible. Yeah,
bioavailability, and we have a whole webinar on bioavailability. So if people want to learn more about that, they can look on our YouTube page. Well, this has been great. This has been a really fun conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you. And we've had a lot of chatter here in the chat box. Everybody's really enjoying all the information that we've shared. So thank you so much for being with us, Andrew.
No problem. I'm really happy to do this. I mean, this is the kind of stuff, again, working at a dispensary, this is the kind of things we're talking about at work all day long, in the hallways, by the water cooler, on our lunch breaks, you know? So I highly recommend anybody getting in an industry if you're interested at all. Just get your foot in the door somehow. It's awesome. My life has been changed since I've worked here. It's honestly, the best job I've had. So couldn't recommend it more.
Yeah. And I agree, you know, with my medical condition, I feel that helping people helps me, you know, so I love working here at a dispensary. It just makes me feel really good. And I love to give back. This was so fun, and maybe we can do this like again in another 6 months. We've got webinars all throughout the whole end of the year, but this was just so fun, and I think people enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm here if you need me. I'm just one mall over.
Great. Awesome. Well, thanks to all of our viewers for joining us today. This has been another great episode of the Farmacy Cannabis Lecture Series. I hope that we were able to share some information that will help you become better informed cannabis consumers, and I bet that's true, and that the information that we shared will help you find relief. Until the next time, be well and stay safe. Bye, everybody.